Wes. And today, it's time to talk about the Golden Eagle LED-2000. What the heck is that? Well, let's hit the B-roll and I'll tell you. The Golden Eagle LED-2000 is yet another low-cost, one might say budget, LED studio light. So why do we need it? Why do we need another? Let's talk about that. You may or may not have noticed, but my lighting got a little bit better in the last few videos. That's because I've been using this with a Westcott Rapidbox XL softbox instead of my cheap and dirty LED ring light from Neewer. I mean, it creates light, but it's not great. CRI is not great. You win some, you lose some. So when Golden Eagle wanted to send me over this, I thought, hey, sure, I'll have a look. It looks pretty cheap though. We'll see what happens. First up, the build quality. Number one, in the pictures, I thought this was going to be a lot more plasticky than it is. Most of the body is solid metal. The Bowens ring on the front, also metal. The back part here is plastic, although it's not terrible plastic. It also doesn't seem to be like the most expensive polycarbonate blah blah blah. This is obviously a value option light, as are most of the YouTube focused small compact studio lights that are coming out these days from Golden Eagle, Photodiox, Godox, Aperture, etc. And if we look at how it's built, you have a continuously adjustable mount on the bottom here, which lets you choose any direction. And there's even an umbrella bracket at the bottom. And I quite like this one. You have a tightening knob here, but it's not just a screw that fires into the side of the umbrella. There's actually a nice long sled metal pad between the screw and the umbrella arm. And the other thing that I like about it, the channel that the arm goes through is very long, and then it seats all the way back into the handle. One problem that you can have with umbrellas, and especially larger umbrellas, is putting too much pressure in one spot and that pole breaks. You don't have an umbrella anymore. Overall, once you look inside it, I feel like this light takes up just a little bit more space than is absolutely necessary. I mean, that's fine, but some of its competitors are a little bit more, let's say, svelte, if necessary. And on the back, you have an LCD screen that is just bright enough, just big enough for most work. The switches and knobs are pretty generic. Nothing mind-boggling, earth-shattering here, but also nothing compromising either. And then on the bottom, you have a pretty solid 120 volt socket. Overall, I would give the build quality an 8 out of 10. Again, it's not going to rock your world, but it's also not going to fall apart if things get rocking. Number two is the light quality. I suppose that is the most important part of this light. Let me tell you, I was, again, surprised. This has a CRI of 95. Sometimes I don't believe CRIs after I've looked at them, but this is some solid light coming out of this rig. It looks very nice. It is locked at 5600K, as are pretty much all of the lights from this category. So you generally choose whether you want a tungsten or a daylight. This one's daylight. I like that kind of light in my studio. One thing that really surprised me was the pattern of light coming out of this. I was expecting, as LEDs tend to be very directional, that it would be a fairly directional light requiring a lot of diffusion. But once you cast this light on the wall, you actually end up with a nearly 180-degree spread pattern with very little hot spotting in the center. I was pretty surprised at that. I'm not exactly sure how they achieved that, but they managed to pull it off. As you can see, right from the side, this light continues pumping out and doesn't get a lot brighter or dimmer as you turn it. As far as light goes, it's good light, good spread. If you're trying to make it even in an umbrella or a softbox, it's perfect for that. It's a 10 out of 10. Can't fault it there. Feature set. This is where you tend to lose a little bit when you get these bargain lights. Obviously, you don't have a focusable Fresnel head in the front of it. You wouldn't really expect to get that, but some do have it. You don't have DMX control, as some do have, like the Aperture. You do have a Bowens mount, which honestly is one of the most important things to me. As I said before, a good solid umbrella bracket. There is no silent fan mode. Most don't have that, but just pointing it out, you can't turn off the fan. And with that, there is no temperature readout on the screen. Now, since we don't have a silent mode, that's not as important, but again, just so you know. And there are no program modes. You can't make this produce fake lightning or what have you. That's not at all important to me, but some lights do have that sort of thing. One of my favorite features, honestly, is that there's no AC adapter. It just plugs straight into the back of the light with a nice beefy AC cord. I hate having adapters dangling around and you get it like halfway up the light stand and then you're not sure where to put it because you get this dinky wire come out of the top of it. Nope, this comes with a real nice and long 120 volt AC power cable. Okay, one more thing it doesn't have is light temperature control. So it's just locked at 5600. Now, in this range of value lights, it's pretty uncommon, actually it's completely unheard of, to have temperature control. So I can't fault it hard for that. You have to go up to $1,000 to $3,000 to have a light with full temperature control. So that's not shocking. And you have a remote control, turn it off and on. It's an RF control, so you don't need direct line of sight. And you can turn the brightness up and down. The one thing I don't like about this remote is it's just a little bit slow in stepping the light output up and down. It's not terrible. It's pretty quick. I've seen much, much worse. I'm just getting nitpicky here. Most of the time, I've just been leaving this on my light stand, plugged in, and turned off. And I've run this light for hours and hours and hours. Because honestly, I wanted to see if it would wear out or break. I have left this on during long editing sessions just while I'm culling, because it changes the light temperature in the room. And it just keeps going. The manufacturer says that it's rated for many thousands of hours of use. I forget the exact number, editing less. And so apparently it seems to do great for that. It'll hang out in standby mode for as long as you want as well, and then come on at the push of a button when you need it. One more thing, with the remote control, there are 4 channels on it, so if you do have multiple lights, you control them individually. Solid features for what it does have. Doesn't have everything imaginable. It's a 7 out of 10. Value. Obviously this is where you expect Golden Eagle, a brand you've never heard of, to just boom, 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 bang out the value. It's going to be as cheap as possible. Well, it's not exactly the case. If we look at its competitors, we'll throw up the Golden Eagle, the regular retail price of $399. It's actually on sale at MoLight for $299 right now. That's a fantastic deal. Regular price, not so much. Sale price, fantastic. And we'll get into that. Now, I am going to rate it on the regular price though, because I can't guarantee sales will be around forever, or if this will be around forever. So check out the link in the description. I got a link to the MoLight website. If you buy one of these, I get absolutely nothing, so just do what you want. Like the video, but that's all that you can do for me. The most common, most popular competitor to this would be the Godox SL200. Super common light. That has a CRI of 93 compared to this is 95. Fairly comparable. That comes in at 360 bucks. So less than the regular retail price, more than the sale price. Then there's the Photodiox LED-2000 WA, which only has a CRI of 85 for 441 bucks. I feel like that one's a bit long in the tooth. Probably should be refreshed. Wouldn't buy that, honestly. 85 is, not great light. I mean, it's fine if you're just making something in the kitchen, but if you're actually producing content that's dependent on light quality, you don't really want that if you can get an 95 for the same price. Then there's the Jinbei EF200. That's a CRI of 95 again, 520 bucks. A little on the expensive side for something kind of generic. And then if you move up just a little bit, you got the Aperture. Aperture, solid brand, solid products. 120D, has a CRI of 96, solid light. It's only 180 watts, fairly close though. Honestly, I usually only use this at about 40 to 60% light output. One might say I'm not using the full capacity of the light. It's generally not great to use your products at 100% all the time, so I feel like if you want a certain amount of light, you want to overshoot that with the specifications of your product. Much like when you're using strobes, if you're going to be firing a strobe at 1:1 all the time, you probably should have bought a more expensive, more powerful strobe. Okay, so we got all that together. I've only compared that in pricing to what is considered the value option alternatives to this. There are much more expensive studio lights that these are considered the replacement for people who don't need those industrial grade lights. So you can go anywhere from $1,200 with a Dracast to $3,100 with a Mole Richardson. Those might have slightly more solid build DMX control, bigger, better name brands behind them. Overall, this is one of the value leaders. It's not knocking it out of the park in clear value winning, so it's an 8 out of 10. Not bad. Alright, what does that give us in total? That is a 33 out of 40. And honestly, I was surprised at how well this performed versus its competitors. It's a solid offering. It's a little bit chunky, but it does its job and does it well. Again, I got a link in the description to MoLight's website if you want to purchase this. It's really pretty much impossible to get it in Canada, but can easily get it from them in the United States. So if you have any questions about this, leave me a question down in the comments. I'm always hanging out down there. And I'll be pumping out a lot more videos starting next week. Next up, we're going to be looking at RGB light panels. And this isn't even all of them, I just couldn't find them all right now. Going to be comparing and seeing what's the best. And after that, we're going to be having a look at this Viltrox 8518 for E-mount. It's autofocus. It's a pretty solid lens. I don't want to say too much at this point though. But anyway, until next time, I'm gonna get to work on this and go take some photos.